How are you? Welcome to my kitchen. I'm glad you could be with me again today. Today I want to do some chicken dishes for you. And they're called fancy chicken dishes. What makes a dish fancy? Well, just a little bit of extra care and a little bit of careful cooking. Though I will admit that yesterday in the supermarket, a woman came running up to me and she said, "I know who you are. You're the Frugal Gourmet. Good Lord, you're sloppy." I didn't quite know what to say to her. The real issue is not what your kitchen looks like when you're finished, but what the plate looks like when you finally put it in front of your guests. So I'm going to suggest some good chicken dishes. And first of all, I think we should talk about the old chicken. You know who invented the chicken? Maybe the word invention isn't proper, but the first time that we see chickens in history was about 3000 BC, and they were wild jungle fowl. That's 5,000 years ago we began eating chickens. And about 900 years ago, the Chinese, 900 years BC, excuse me, 2,900 years ago, the Chinese began domesticating chickens. Of course, they were the first ones. They did everything first with food. And since that time, chickens have been around. They're a marvelous bird. They're very efficient. And they stand well on the food cycle because it doesn't take a lot of grain, you see, to manufacture a good chicken. So thanks to the Chinese, you and I can have some chicken dishes today. One of the things you need to remember when you buy chicken is that it's going to be cheaper to cut them up yourself. You'll save about 12 cents a pound. So let me show you what to do. Lay the old chicken down on his breast and cut the wing off first, you see, very quickly. You can cut up your own chicken. This is a boning knife I'm using. You see, it's a good grip on it. I don't want to slip and hurt myself. And then cut off the other wing. Now we'll go to the leg and thigh and just stroke down one side here, and the leg will tell you the thigh will tell you where it should come off. Now we'll bend, you see? There's the spot, there's the bone right there. Okay, now we'll do the other side. This doesn't take long, and for heaven's sakes, don't allow some kid in the supermarket to cut your chicken up for you. You know what happens? You open up the package, it says cut chicken, and you pay extra money for it, and when you get the thing home, you realize the kid cut it up on a bandsaw. That's no fair. Now, we have the legs and the wings removed, and we'll cut down. You see, this is the tail of the chicken here. This is the breast. Cut down this side and the other side, and then simply remove the breast. Get rid of the old back here. I usually use a Chinese cleaver for this, too. Works great. And this part of the chicken, we're going to want to put in our soup pot. Don't throw anything away. Just bend it. You see, it comes right apart here, around the old neck. There we are. So we now have the back and tail, which we'll put in the soup pot. That's gone. And then we have the two breasts here, the chicken leg and the thigh is separated from the leg. Set it on its back, you see, so that you have it's a Y shape here. Put your knife in. The knife will know where to go. It'll simply find the spot very easily. You see? Remember that. It's easy to figure out where the thigh and the leg should be separated. If you'll set it down this way and just let the knife do the work, and it'll find the spot right away. There you are. That's all the pieces. Now let me show you how to get the breast off of the bone. The breastbone, you see, is the meat is very, very light and will dry if you're not careful with it. So generally, I suggest that you leave the bones in the chicken because it'll keep the moisture in the bird. But if you want to make a boneless breast, then do it this way. Don't buy them at the market. They're too expensive. You need a very sharp knife, and I'm using a little paring knife that I keep very sharp. And I never let anybody touch this particular knife. This is my little stripping knife, you see. Keep it good and sharp. Now then, we will remove the breast thusly. Down the center, we're going to make a slit on the flesh on one side of the breastbone. You see the bone is right here. And then you begin pulling the meat away with your fingers and just stroking at it. You see? Just stroking at it. And it will come right off. It'll come right off the old bone. There we are. Here's the wishbone up here. See? And there's one all prepared. Doesn't take long, does it? You see? Now, if you want to strip the fat off of this, remember most of the fat in a chicken is in the skin. So just give it a yank, and that'll always come off unless you're watching. There it is. And here's an absolutely boneless breast. Lovely, lovely meat. The chicken is all set to go now. So let me show you some good dishes. Don't throw the chicken backs away. We want to save this for a good batch of chicken soup. Chicken soup. The Jews called it gilden yorek, golden yellow soup. Heavenly stuff. All right, first dish. This may sound a little strange to you, but it comes from Italy, and I want to stuff a chicken with potatoes. Don't say yuck. It's terrific. First of all, use good potatoes. Let me get rid of this poor chicken here. He should go on another platter. There he is. I've got chickens all over the place today. We want to use new potatoes or red potatoes. And this batch is a particularly small bunch, so what I pre-cooked these, you see, little new potatoes. You want to dice them up into about 4 or 5 pieces, or something this size. You see, if your chicken is, your potatoes are much larger, well, then cut them up into small pieces like so, you see. Put several in a bowl. So you have, oh, I don't know what, I have about 3 cups there. That's what you'll need. And to that now, we're going to add some green olives. This is very Italian. It comes from the mountains in Italy. And I think it's just a lovely dish. We're going to dice up several green olives. These are stuffed ones, you notice. You ever see a stuffed olive stick his pimento out at you? Mine just did. All right, and we need some anchovies. And these anchovies, be careful with this oil because it'll get all over the place. But these lovely anchovies are very, very rich with salt and oil. So you have to kind of pat them a bit before you. I just want a couple here if I can get them out of the old jar. Gee, this worked great earlier. Now I'm having trouble. Isn't that the way, huh? Here we are. Okay. For the rest of the day, you'll smell like anchovy and garlic. The cat will love you. Marvelous. Chop up a couple of anchovies. Now, if you're trying to save money on this dish, that is to say you've decided that it's not terribly frugal to do this, then you can omit the anchovy. But I enjoy it. I'm going to chop up a couple of anchovies, about 3 of these, you see, and into the pot they go. There we are. And now we need to add some garlic. A couple of cloves of fresh garlic, and don't use instant. Remember that. Now, that's a basic rule in my kitchen. Garlic is a heavenly food. There's 1 big fat one, 2, and when you scrape off your garlic mill, be sure and use the back of your knife, never the blade, right? Never the sharp side, you see? Okay, let's continue now with potato stuffed chicken. What else do we need? We have the anchovies, and we need some capers. I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of capers into our dish, and about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Good olive oil so that we can help flavor the potato. And we need some parsley. Here's a good clump here. I'm going to put in, 3 tablespoons, something like that. Once I chop it up. There we go. You see, I'm making, now the dish doesn't sound so strange to you, does it? Now that you see what all I have in this dressing. And we'll toss that. I want to give you that recipe again, too, as we're tossing this up here. I have 3 or 4 medium potatoes. These were small, so I put in many more than that. About 3 or 4 cups. 8 to 10 green olives, some parsley, some garlic, some anchovies, some capers. And now we want to add the herb that will make this absolutely heavenly, and that's rosemary. Rosemary. And I'm going to put in a good stiff pinch. You put it into your own flavor, huh? Let me show you what you have now. I'll get a wooden spoon, and we'll stuff a bird with this. It's very simple. You might want to salt and pepper your chicken. Be sure and get rid of most of the fat here. It doesn't look bad. My mother, of course, would stand around and use a spoon to do this. And the lady I just saw in the supermarket would tell me I'm sloppy again. But your hand is really much better than any other device in the kitchen. There he is. Put him in a baking dish and bake him at about 375. Sit still there, fella. 375 for about, probably about 1 hour and 10 minutes should do the job. 70 minutes. You see, let me show you what you have. I have one in the oven for you. And he's really glorious. It's a very nice dish. We'll trade spots with him and take one out. You bring this to the table, and when you cut him up, there he is. Come on out of there. I'm going to put him right in the board here, and then I want to slice him in half and let you see what's going to appear on the table. There. Come here, friend. Use a good knife. Start the slit down the center here, and then you can just run it right on through, you see? And we need to, I tied the legs. And here he is. Look at the beautiful filling of potato, you see? Beautiful filling of potato and meat. And I'll put 2 of these on put them both on the platter here. I would probably cut these again into quarters and serve this with a little arrogance, because I think it's a beautiful dish. Certainly needs some parsley, though, doesn't it? That just looks awful. Put a little clump at each end and bring this to the table with some class. There we go. 1 chicken stuffed with rosemary potatoes, anchovies, capers. Let's put him out in front here where you can get a good look at him. I wish you could smell this because it's a heavenly odor. There, all right. Now then, let's fry. Let's do another Italian dish. We're going to fry some chicken breasts in the style of a veal piccata. And veal is very, very expensive, but a nice chicken breast will do a good job for you, providing you don't cook it long. Don't overcook chicken breast because it'll dry out viciously. So we're going to make a chicken piccata, and the term piccata simply means sharp. And we do that with lemon juice. We make a sharp flavor. So we have some pieces that I've already shown you here. The breast, you see, and let's get rid of the skin. We really don't need that. We'll get rid of the fat here and the skin all at once. Just pull it right off. And then we're going to pound let me get another one going here. And we're going to pound the pieces of meat with either a metal pounder, or you can sometimes use a wooden mallet. But I like the old metal jobber. I'll show you one. Just a second here. Chicken breasts are lovely things. If you pay for some other fellow to take them off the chicken for you, you're going to spend about $4 a pound, and that's a lot of money. But if you want to fix up your own, why, it's not going to be quite so costly. Get rid of the fat. There. And I'm going to save all of that fat and put it in my soup pot. There we go. Now we'll lay these out, and we're going to pound them thin. Get my pan going here. We're going to pound them thin with a meat pounder. And there are a couple of different kinds in the market. This one is imported by Waldo in Brooklyn, and it's very expensive, but it's a marvelous thing. It has a good way to grip. You see, it's solid brass. And you can just really whale the old. How do you like the racket? Isn't this fun? This is the sort of thing the kids love to do. There's one. Or here's one that you can find from a Rowoco company. And it's a little bit cheaper model at about $15. It works fine, too. But it isn't as glorious. Okay. That one's ready to go. And finally, if you don't want to invest in something that expensive, then I suggest, and I've showed you this once before, but this works just great. Put your chicken on between two rolls of wax paper, 2 sheets of wax paper, and use a 2x4. It's a little bit cheaper. See that flatten out? Isn't that marvelous? Nothing wrong with a 2x4. Just don't let your mother-in-law see you doing that. You know, she figures that things aren't going well in the household. Cooking with a 2x4 now, dear? Can you hear it? Oh, I love it. All right, my pan is hot. I want to flour the pieces of chicken. You could also dip this in egg if you prefer, but I don't want to bother. I don't want that much of a crust on this dish. And the Italians, of course, wouldn't do that with veal. You just flour it. And I'll get some olive oil in the pan. Did you notice I put my pan on first, on the heat? And I've not yet put any oil in it, because I want to put the oil in just as I put the food in.